So what are stats? Stats are the main attributes that you can train and improve in Umamusume. Your understanding of the 5 stats and what they do will provide the cornerstone to achieving better results in races, both in your career modes and the PvP modes, such as champions, meetings, and team trials. We're going to start with speed. Now, speed is arguably the most important stat to raise in Umamusume. Now, what speed does, in a nutshell, is it controls how fast you go in the final third of the race. Notably, it does not control how fast you move in the opening and middle leg of the race. If you've ever wondered why you have maxed out speed and you just seem to be going slower than everyone else, it's because that stat does not control how fast you move in the first 2/3 of the race. Speed is also affected by both the surface modifier and the distance modifier. So if you have A in distance or surface, like an A turf or A medium, that provides a 0% bonus. An S will provide an additional 10%. Each level below will reduce your speed by 20%. So how do you acquire speed? You get speed by training speed, guts, and wits, along with the random events that you can get from your support cards and just from the campaign you're playing. Stamina. Now, stamina is arguably the other most important stat. Stamina dictates if you have enough energy to actually finish the race. The best way to think about stamina is as a health bar. Your running will consume a certain amount of that health bar. If your health bar ever reaches 0, your maximum speed in the final leg of the race will be severely reduced. So your goal while training is to reach your stamina threshold for whatever distance you're planning to train for without investing too much into it. This is because while all stats run into diminishing returns, stamina runs into the most diminishing returns out of any stat. So as a general rule of thumb, you want to acquire this much stamina for each distance. For sprints, you want about 400 to 450 stamina. For miles, you want 600 to 650. For mediums, you want about 850 to 900. And then for longs, you want as much as you can manage. Now, this is a variable because tracks are different, they have different conditions, and most importantly, just saying that you need this much for a medium goes anywhere from 2,000 to 2,400 meters. So on the lower end of that, you might only need 750 to 800, and on the upper end, you might need closer to 1,000. Long has the greatest distance between, greatest variance, because it goes all the way from 2,500 at the Arima Keenan, all the way to 3,600 meters at the stair stakes. When looking at how much stamina you need, you also need to factor in your recovery skills. Now, recovery skills can reduce the amount of stamina that you need, but they also heal based on a percentage. So the higher your stamina is, the better you heal. So, for example, if you only have 450 stamina and you have a gold recovery skill, it's going to recover a whole lot less than if you have 1,200 stamina and a gold recovery skill. Other things to know about stamina is affected by track conditions, with wet conditions requiring more stamina in order to finish a race. Stamina is also affected by which style you're running in. Paces and fronts generally take more stamina, while late and ends take less stamina. You acquire stamina by training stamina and by training power, as well as from the random events. The really important thing to take away from stamina: if you miss your stamina threshold, you will always lose. It doesn't matter if you have maxed out stats and everything else. If you do not have enough stamina, you will lose to an Umamusume with 600 in every stat, but enough stamina to finish the race. Your power helps your Umamusume better jockey and fight for position, and it also increases your acceleration out of the gate and in the final spurt. Another thing that power does is on uphills on the track, you lose less speed while going up that hill. Power, like speed, is affected by both the surface modifier and distance modifier. Like speed, A provides a 0% bonus, S provides an additional 10%, and each level below reduces your power by 20%. Like stamina, power is also affected by wet conditions. It reduces your power by 20%. How do you get power? You increase it by training power and speed and from random events. Guts. Guts is the most frequently misunderstood stats in the game. The best way to think about Guts is it is a supplement to your stamina. Guts controls how much stamina you consume in the final spurt. The more guts you have, the less stamina is consumed. Guts also acts as your top speed if you do run out of stamina. This is generally a very minor bonus, because if you run out of stamina, you are almost certainly never going to win. Guts now also dictates who will win spot struggles and who will win duels. The other thing that Guts does now is it adds to your top speed in the final spurt. The final spurt and the final leg are different. The final leg is the final third of the race. The final spurt is where your Umamusume gives everything to try and accelerate and speed up as quickly as possible. Guts is the other factor that dictates your top speed besides speed. You can increase your guts via training guts and stamina, as well as from random events. Wit. Wit controls the most things in the game and is the other frequently misunderstood stat. So, the most important thing that Wit does is Wit controls your skill activation chances. At 300% Wit, you have a 70% chance of activating your skill. At 600 Wit, you have an 85% activation chance. At 900 Wit, 90%. And at 1200 Wit, you have a 92.5% activation. Wit experiences incredible diminishing returns, with about half of the bonus disappearing each 300 it increases. So from 300, the bonus goes up 15%. Then it's only 5%, and then it's only 2.5% for each 300 above that. Other things that Wit controls. Wit helps to control your positioning in the early and mid game. The other thing that Wit does is it reduces your chances of being rushed, with about 300 being about 20% and 10% at 1200. Wit can also restore stamina on downhills and increase your top speed on the downhill. Wit does not control if you late start. You always have about a 20% chance of late starting. Wit, like power and speed, is affected by your style modifier. Each letter grade gives a bonus or penalty, with S providing a 110% bonus, A giving a 100% bonus, B giving a 90%, and lower than that, varying, with G rank providing a mere 10% of your starting Wit. Now, an important thing to note about Wit: the style modifier and the skills, such as Pace Chaser Savvy or End Closer Savvy, do not increase or decrease your skill activation chances. It only controls everything else that Wit controls: your positioning, your chances of getting rushed, and whether or not you hit your stamina restore on the downhills. Now, how does Wit work via training? So Wit can only be increased via your training and by your random events. Wit is also different from the other four stats, as it is the only stat that increases your energy instead of decreasing it. Wit training also differs in that if you fail, it increases your energy and it does not injure your training. The last thing to know about Wit is Wit will succeed at lower energies. You need about only a 35 energy for a 100% success rate, where other trainings need about 55 energy for 100% success. So, now that you understand all of the different stats and generally what they do, what does this all mean? So ideally, you would be able to max out everything. While it is technically possible, this is not achievable by most players, and you will need to make some sacrifices and need to prioritize certain things. So here are my suggestions. You need to make sure that you hit your stamina thresholds. I cannot hammer this point enough. If you do not have enough stamina, you will not win your races. It doesn't matter how long or short they are. The next thing that you should work to max out is your speed. No matter what type of race it is, be it a sprint, a mile, a medium, or long, you will always want maxed out speed. The next thing that I would look to max out is either power or wit. Wit experiences higher diminishing returns than power, but making your skill checks is so important on strategies such as front running and Christmas Oguri that it is generally very important to max out wit on all of those. Power is arguably more important when the conditions are wet, or if you are doing a late surger or end closing strategy, as you need more positioning and ways to push past other racers. Ultimately, it's up to you. Now this leaves Guts. Guts is in a much better place than it was at the beginning of the game, but it's still arguably the least important stat to train most of the time. Now, that being said, Guts is very important generally on your pace chasers and on your front runners, as front runners need Guts to win their spot struggles, and pace chasers need Guts in order to win duels. Guts is also more important the longer the final spurt of the race is. However, Guts is usually the easiest stat to cut, and you usually only need about 600 of it. Hopefully all of this has increased your understanding of how the 5 stats work and helped to clear up some misinformation and misconceptions. Well, I hope that you liked the video. Please like and subscribe. Please leave a comment on anything that you might want to see next, any questions, or if you want to correct anything that I've said. Please check out my video on how to obtain a free Umamusume special week, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you for watching.